Thank
Yep,
you.
there we go.
Oh, cool.
Thank you for that, Triffid. So yeah, what I thought we'd do was something like this. I thought this, obviously, the same kind of, you'll see when I do it, but it could be used for all kinds of different things. But what I thought was really cool was just having what looks like energy pulses going along a cable, and then this could be like a generator or an engine of some kind, could be refueling, or whatever you wanted. It just
Or funky holiday lights.
or funky holiday lights, absolutely. um so yeah, really
Just
easy to do. Just wanted to show you basically how I did it, and then I would love to see if anybody does anything with it in one of their worlds. That would be absolutely awesome. I'd love, and I'll probably share the shader as well once we've done it on in Discord. Um, but yeah, to start with, I tell you what, let's just stop this. We'll close that one down because I've got a blank thing ready to go with Amplify already installed. At least it should be. Yep. So we'll start off just in Blender and just make the basic scene, and then make all the shaders to make it work. So I'm just going to delete everything. Start off with a plane, and I'll just double the size a couple of times. Maybe take an edge here, and we'll just extrude it up a bit to make a wall. And then maybe make something like I had in my other one. I'll probably just use a cylinder, maybe 6 sides will do, 8 sides, whatever, doesn't matter. Just scale it down a bit, and we'll snap it to the wall. So move it along the Y, hold down Control, and everything except the Y, we'll move it down here. So that's going to be me kind of socket plug thing. And we'll add in a cube. We'll just scale that down a bit, and maybe scale it along the X. And that's our basic thing. So let's say we want a cable. I'm going to have it like hanging over the edge here, I think, coming over here, over the cube and into there. So easy way to do it is just to add a curve. We're going to use a path curve. Go into edit mode. Just delete all of the vertices, and then over here we've got a little pencil, and it says draw. Draw a freehand spline. So we'll just click that and see what we can do here. So it's going to be going over there, and then I'll make it. Oh, one thing I've forgotten to do, hit surface. So it actually clings to the surface
What version
of
of
your.
Blender are you using?
I'm using 3.4 just because it's quicker
Okay.
on my system. 4.2 takes forever to load. But you can do this in any version of Blender. It's nothing has changed as far as this goes. And then I think what we need to do here is probably extrude this up a little bit. And come on.
Sorry, how do I see the screen?
Oh, re-enter one more time, I guess,
Yeah.
through the double click, right?
Yeah,
rejoin
just-
it?
Power off for a
yes,
second.
rejoin.
No, just click your power button once, or
Oh,
or
okay,
click the
okay.
power button, one or the other.
All right.
So we've got that
Okay, yeah.
far.
Thanks.
No problem. Now what we need to do is go into geometry. I'll turn the resolution down to 1, maybe. Well, actually, you know what? Let's just leave it as it is, and we'll increase the depth on the bevel section, give us a bit of thickness. And I wonder if I shade it flat. There you go. You can see when we turn the resolution down, it reduces the amount of kind of sides. I like to keep it at 1. Six sides is enough. And you can also see here the number of cuts along the length of it. You can reduce those by reducing the resolution preview bit as well. Don't go too low or you're going to end up with something like this where it's just really angular. Usually I find 8 is acceptable for VR. You can go higher, but obviously you're going to have a more dense mesh, and we need to try and optimize as much as possible, but not have it looking totally crap. So that's, we'll just shade smooth again. Was it auto smoothed? I wonder. Who knows? Don't know. Never mind. We'll go back into edit mode because you can see here it's actually cutting through the through your floor, and we don't want that. We want it sitting on the floor, so we'll just select all of those, and then I'm just going to lift everything up a bit so it's sitting on the green line on the floor. And if you hold down shift when you're moving it, it really slows down. It does very small increments, and you have a lot more control with fine movement. And then as far as these things go, you can rotate these to make them fit a little bit better. I'm just going to move it in a wee bit there, and that's fine. But we're going to have to fix this where it's going over the box. This is far too tight a curve. We'll move it out a little bit, and maybe increase the size a little bit. Increasing the size makes the curve kind of wider. So yeah, just fiddle with it a little bit until it's kind of looking better than it was. Doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it kind of looks like it's a cable going over a box. That'll do. And once you're done with it, what I would highly suggest is duplicate it, just using Shift and D and then H to hide your original. So if you need to make any changes to it, you've got your original curve, because this one we're now going to convert into a mesh. So literally just right click, convert to mesh. And if we go into edit mode now, you see we've got faces and edges and vertices the way we're supposed to. So hit the // button and it'll isolate your cable. Hit Control and 7 on your numpad and you'll get a bottom up view. And if you go into edit mode and hold Alt and click, you can select one of the edges that goes all the way along the cable, and we'll mark that as a seam. The reason I've done it is on the bottom is so that you don't see any joins where the texture goes all the way around, because we are going to texture this at some point. And once you've done that, we'll just quickly go into edit mode, Alt U, it wasn't Alt, it was A to select everything, then U, just to do a basic unwrap. And then over here, there's a thing called Text Tools, which I believe is free. You can download it, just do a Google for it. Don't know if I'll be able to find it on here, but Text Tools download. There we go, it's on GitHub. Just do a search for it, you'll find it there. It's really cool. It's got a really nice little thing here called rectify. So you'll see here, because this is a bit distorted, any textures you put on is going to be distorted. So we need to straighten this out. So you just select everything, hit rectify, and it's all nice and straight and proper quads now. And then simply because it's easier than doing anything else to make sure that your texel density is correct, I just usually stick this in the middle of one of these boxes and scale it up till it's about the same width. And if I do that with this with every cable, it's going to be roughly correct as far as the scale of the texture goes. So that'll do. We'll hit / again, bring everything else in, and I want to make sure that I'm applying the scale on every other object, actually rotation and scale for that one, and scale for that one. So there's all our bits and bobs which we're going to bring into here. So I'll start off just top to bottom. We'll do the cube. You can do File, Export, FBX, or do what I do and just hit F4, E for Export, F for FBX. The same goes for import and FBX. F4, IF, I for import. So we're going to export it. Selected object only. I'm going to call it box, and we'll stick it in the right place, which is under banter. And what did I actually call this? Just my project. It was just the standard default name. So we'll stick it in there. Into assets. Check I've got the right place. There we go. There's the box. So that's the first bit done. We'll just quickly do the rest. I'm going to call this socket. This one, I'm going to call this cable. And this one, I'm just going to call it, I don't know, floor-ish. So there's everything. Bring in the cable, bring in the floor, bring in the socket. And that's everything. So I'm going to very quickly, just in Amplify, because, you know, the standard shader, well, it's broken for banter. So very quickly in Amplify, just do basic colors for everything, and then we'll work on the special shader for the cable. So I'm just going to call this basic color, and I'm English, so color's got a U. So sorry and all that, but that's the way I spell it. And
Proper way.
the proper way. Hold down 5 and click, and you'll get color, or you can right click and just choose, you know, do a search for color. But a shortcut is just hold down 5 and click. If you do a search for, incidentally, for anything in here, you'll see in square brackets next to the node you're looking for, it's got a little, either a number or a letter, so you can see what the shortcut is. Another one, for instance, would be a texture sample, which is T, or texture coordinates, which is U. Very handy, worth remembering them. But for now, I'm just going to stick that in there. We'll make it a property, because at the moment, I'll just hide that a second, and we'll make a material out of it. Actually, you know what, let's just close that. I'll show you in a minute. We're just gonna call this grey, because, come on, because I'm gonna make the floor and walls grey. But we've got no colour here, and the reason is because this is a constant and not a property. I'm just going to call this, just correct the spelling, you know, colour with a U. And we'll make this a property. Once it's a property, it will show up here, and you can change it on the fly. So we're going to put this on the floor and make it grey, because that's what I said I was going to do, just so we're not blinded by all the white with everything. And I'll duplicate this with Control and D, and I'm going to call this green maybe, and we'll make it a greeny kind of colour, maybe something like that. Ooh, and then the socket, we want a bit of metallic, so I'm just going to add it to the existing shader rather than creating a new one. This time we just want a float, and this is just 1, which is also, some people call it a vector 1, but obviously it's not a vector because it's just one number, so it's a float. But we'll plug that into metallic and make that a property, and we'll call it metallic. And this one we need a min and a max, because it should never go above 1. It's always either off at 0 or 1, fully metallic, or any value in between. So we're going to set the max to 1. And now we can duplicate this again, and we'll call it steel. And we'll just zoom in on here a bit, stick that on there, and we'll give it a kind of a greyish colour. Actually, I should have added smoothness as well, but I didn't. And we'll just turn the metallic up, and we'll quickly duplicate this node, same again with Control and D. We'll stick that into smoothness, and we'll call that smoothness, and save it. So now we can turn the smoothness down a bit. We don't want it like a mirror. So we've got some metal, and the only thing we've got left to do now is this cable here. So this is the fun bit. We're going to create another amplify shader for this one, and I'm going to call it, we'll just call it pulse, because it is like an energy pulse thing. Just make sure we can see that. And what I didn't do, as you already know, I usually put Lisa / before the shader name here, because, and I'll do the same with this one as well, Lisa / The reason being that now, if we create a material, which I'm going to call, I don't know, we'll just call it red pulse, because that's what we're going to do to start with. And you can have as many colours as you like. We'll drag that onto there. Here, now, because I put Lisa / before the names, the two that I've created are now under my own menu. so I can choose them. They're all together, basically, and I don't have to go searching for them. So we've done that. We'll open up the shader again. And the first thing we want is to actually create the pulse itself. And what I'm going to do, if you remember in UV editing, would help if I had the right thing selected. You'll see that my cable is going from top to bottom, and I want the pulse to travel all the way along that way. We don't want it to go that way. We want it to go from top to bottom or bottom to top, whatever. So what I want is some kind of gradient that runs across that way, which is going to travel down the cable. And to do that, I use, oh, that's not what I wanted, GIMP, because it's free, just like Blender is and everything else. I do try and use free stuff where possible, if I can. And it doesn't have to be a big file, a big image. We're going to create one by, let's see, 256 by 256 maybe. We'll just zoom in a little bit. And when you first open up GIMP, this button here will probably be the bucket fill option. But if you click on it and hold down your mouse button, you'll get the option for gradient. That's what we're going to use. So we've got a background of black and the gradient's going to be in white. And then you've got different shapes. So for instance, linear, you can just go from top to bottom and you've got a gradient that way. I'm holding down control here so it snaps to different angles, and that just makes sure it's nice and straight. Whereas it doesn't snap to anything. It's a bit difficult without control. So just hold down control. You've got other ones as well. There's some really interesting stuff you can do, like spiral, for instance, or conical. It's quite cool. But we need bilinear, and we need to start from the middle-ish, roughly the middle. You could start from the top, but best from the middle, because it's going to expand out on either side. Start dragging down, hold control, and that is going to be our pulse there. I've just hit enter there to apply it. So we'll export that, and I'm going to call it pulse. And we'll stick it in the same place as everything else. So my project, assets, export. And then you'll see
Sorry, what file type is that?
I've just saved it as a PNG, but you could use a JPEG, you could use anything you wanted. JPEG would be better, obviously, because it's going to be a smaller file and everything else, and you don't need alpha channels or anything. But for just speed, and rather than confusing the matter, I've just done the standard PNG.
Cool.
So yeah, we'll just open up our pulse shader again and make sure I'm on material, and I'm just going to drag the image in, drag that down again so you can still see the cable. Oop. And we'll plug that into the albedo. We don't need the alpha channel, I'm just using RBG straight into the albedo. And we'll save that. And now you can see we have some pulses. Except we want it to be emissive, and we want to create some kind of texture for the actual cable itself. So I'm going to unplug it from there, plug it into emission, and then you can see it's glowing. Much better. So now we need to get it to move. And to get it to move, we need something called a panner node. And we can plug that into the UV because that's what it's going to be affecting. We'll save that, and you'll probably find it disappears. And the reason it disappears is because we need some UV information, and for that we need to hold down U for UV and get your texture coordinates, plug that in. Save it. Still nothing happens, and that's because we don't have a speed. The speed is currently at 0 here. So we're just going to use another float. Come on. There we go. And we'll set it to 1, and you can see it's moving down now. So we'll save that. And if I just kind of hover between these, you can see it kind of working. But I might want it going the other way. I might want it, oh, I was going to make that hanging over the edge, wasn't I? I forgot about that. I might want it going into the socket as if it's refueling something. And an easy way to do that, what I've found is the easiest way is literally just to go to your UVs, rotate it by 180 and re-export. Yeah, cable. Don't overwrite the flow. Cable. And then it's going the opposite direction. So we've done that. I'm going to call this pulse speed. Oh, yeah, try that again, Lisa. Pulse speed. And we're going to expose it so we can alter it on the fly, have different speeds for different cables if we wish. So now we've got pulse speed there. And then we'll want to give it a colour. We might say, well, this one was going to be red, wasn't it? I called it red pulse. So here, what we want to do is hold down 5 and add another colour node. We'll make it white by default, maybe. We'll make it a property. I'm going to call it pulse colour. White by default.
What would a negative speed do to it?
You know what? Probably exactly the same as changing the yep, there we go. Exactly the same as rotating your UVs.
Yep.
Yep. Completely forgotten what I was doing. Oh yes, there we go. We're just adding a colour to the pulse. So in this instance, we need to use a multiply node, and I'll explain why in a moment. We're just going to multiply that by that, plug it into the emission, and up here we can then change the colour as we see fit. So we've got red, which is what we wanted. I might want to make it a little bit orangey, something like that. So yeah, there's our pulse going. Now the reason we're using multiply and not add, and this is a mistake a lot of people make, you've got to think about it in terms of maths. So the pulse, black always has a value of 0 and white has a value of 1. And then everywhere in between is somewhere between 0 and 1, so the greyish colours. So if you multiply anything by 0, it doesn't change. Whereas if you multiply something by another value, obviously it does. So that's why we multiply it here. So the black doesn't get affected by the red. It doesn't change at all. Only the white parts and the grey parts do. So you can still see the gradient, but we're changing the colour that way. If we were to change it to add, what we'd be doing is adding the red to 0. So anything that's black would become red. And anything that's white would stay white because that is fully white. It's got a 0 or 1. You can't get any more than that. So you'd end up, in fact, I'll show you. If you add those together, so the blacks become red and the white stayed white. So we want multiply to make it work. We'll just get rid of that. So that's basically it as far as the pulse goes. Now what we want to do is try and create some sort of reasonably simple, just make this look a bit more than just a diffuse black cable. So we'll start off with a colour, and that's going to be plugged into the albedo. We'll call it, make the property and call it cable colour.
Couleur. With a U.
With a U, of course. And we'll make it maybe a kind of browny colour, perhaps. I don't know. Could be any colour you like. Could be red. Let's make it a little bit more. That's very orange. Let's make it a bit more reddish, like a dark red, because I just think that looks cool with the red pulse there. So we've got that, but I want a bit of variation on the surface. So I'd like to have a bit of smooth, like patches of it that's rough and patches that are smooth, as if it's a cable that's been through a lot of use and wear and tear. So I think the easiest way is to use a noise generator. Let's have a look. We'll just plug that into smoothness so we can see what it's actually doing to start with. And it's just it's not fully smooth because it's not quite white, is it? But it's got some smoothness there. We'll just reuse the texture coordinates. I'll just drag that down here. We'll just plug that into there as well. And then you can see here it's kind of rough and here it's smooth, but yeah, we need to alter the scale. So we'll add another float and we'll call this noise scale, I guess, and plug that in there. And we'll give it a scale of 1 to start with. And then we should be able to just scroll that up until we start to see something happening.
Cool.
It's very shiny in places though. I don't, sometimes I think less is more. We just want it looking a little bit shiny. So we'll add a multiply node and another float. And this we're going to call smoothness. And we want that to go from 0 to 1. Plug that into there. Plug that into there. We might need to use a remap node to remap this, but I don't think we'll need to. It's fine. It is pretty, yeah, it's all right. We'll see how we get on. Probably won't need to. So now we should be able to just turn that up a little bit there. So we've got a little bit of shininess and roughness on the surface. If you don't like the pattern you've got as well, of course, there's different versions here under the noise generator. You could use simple, which is a little bit more, it's less like cells, shall we say. See what that's like when we turn it up a bit. Where's my mouse gone? We'll just turn the smoothness right up again so we can see what we're doing. That looks all right. And then we can just turn that down a little bit. Yeah. Oh, what have I done? That looks all right. It makes it a bit more interesting and does kind of look like a little bit of a rubber pipe. Maybe turn it up a tad more. Yeah, that's okay. And one of the cool things that you can do in Blender as well is we could add another curve. do the same thing, delete all the vertices, use the pencil. You can actually have them going over each other as well. Theoretically, anyway. Is that going over? Maybe, kind of, isn't it? Kind of. Let's just reduce this again, give it a bit of thickness. Come on. Ah, this is annoying.
That was Unity. Just move that up a little bit again. Could you have created a shader in Blender or no? To do the same thing?
No. I mean, yeah, you can, but it'll only work in Blender.
Right.
You know, it's not something that you can...
Oh, okay. You can't export it.
No.
Export, yeah.
So we'll just move that up a bit so it's kind of lying on top of the other cable. Move that over a little bit. That'll do. I'm not going to do anything fancy with that. We'll duplicate it and hide the original. Convert to mesh. Isolate it. Top-down view. Select an edge, any edge. Mark it. There's a seam. Unwrap. Go to UV editing. Rectify. Move it over so it's kind of in the middle of a square, and then we can scale it up so it's roughly the same size, same width. And I guess we just export it. We'll call this cable 2, cable 1. Cable 1. So it's kind of running over another cable. It's a bit wonky. Ooh. So yeah, I'll just duplicate this and we'll make this one, we'll call it blue pulse. And we'll drag that onto there. And we'll make it a bluey colour. And we'll change the colour of the cable, make it kind of grey. We can adjust smoothness and the scale. So it gets a different look to it. But yeah, as I say, you can have things just, I mean, obviously I should have rotated these nodes a bit so it wasn't quite at an angle. But yeah, you can, I just didn't want to spend too much time on it. You can do some pretty cool stuff with it. You could, what else could we do? Maybe just add a cube.
Could you have done like an animation in Unity that follows the spline curve or something with an emissive object that follows the path within a tube or something? Or
Many years ago. I've never done it in any of my worlds in here. Used to in Old Space.
okay.
But yeah, I've not done anything. It's easy enough to do. I mean, to be honest, I just did it using following a curve in Blender and then bake the keyframes. I've never actually used splines in Unity. I think Pony's probably the best person that I know of to ask about that. I've never done it. Something I'm happy to look into though. But yeah, let's just get this unwrapped quickly.
Yeah, and there you're already hitting the important factor. If you do it in Unity, you don't have control over the UV. So you can't
Okay.
do any unwrapping, light map baking. It's all, yeah,
Right.
Unity's default stuff, and
That
it's
makes
not
sense.
really good.
Forgotten what I was doing. There we go, Pack Islands. Sorry about that. So yeah, we'll just get that exported, and we'll just call that pillar. And we'll bring the pillar in, and we'll just stick one of our existing materials on we've already done. And there we go. Let's just get rid of that camera, because I'm just going to use the scene.
Could you
And
do
you
one
can see
go in both directions? One.
in both directions. Oh, goodness gracious me, I wouldn't have a clue.
One line, yeah. Two different colors.
Yeah, because I mean, this is literally, it's just one shader.
Yeah.
I'd have to look into that. I really don't know. But this is a nice, easy way, though. It's not complicated. Like I say, it's literally just a
That's
few
cool, though.
nodes. Just a few nodes. A little bit of a noise thing to give some kind of rough and smooth patches and the colour, and then just a panner with a simple, tiny, it's like I say, it's 256 by 256 little gradient I made. And it just works. It's nice, it's simple. Yeah. And like you say, if I, let's just duplicate that. Oh, come on. Duplicate that again. And we'll make this one green. Only we're going to change the pulse direction. Thank you for that little reminder. And make it a darkish. Oh, we'll leave it absolutely bright green, maybe a yellowy green. And we'll change the colour of the pipe to maybe something like that. Because, you know, purple and green. Don't know why. It's just... And we've got the pulse going downwards
that was a cool
now.
effect on the floor.
Yeah.
But it was neat when you put it on just the plane. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty cool. And the nice thing about it, I mean, I've just got the pulse speed set to 1 on everything. You could have it really slow if you wanted. You know, like, ooh, like maybe 1/10 of the speed. So it's just crawling along at a snail's pace. Or you can have it zooming along, hyper speed. Choo, look at it going over that box. Choo. I quite like the slow though. I think it looks quite good. But yeah, nice and simple, easy to do. Like I say, I'll stick the shader in Discord as well, in case anyone wants to have a bit of a play with it, or if you've got Amplify and want to have a look at it, pull it apart. Yeah, that's basically it. I was going to cover as well a Blender add-on, but we simply don't have time. I think it'll probably end up taking the full hour if I go into it properly. But next
which
week,
add-on? Dream
UV. I don't know if maybe Aline's covered it before and I've just missed one of her sessions. I don't know, but it's free. You can download it. You obviously, if you get it from Gumroad or Blender Market, you have to pay for it, but you can download it from GitHub. If I can find it. This is it. Is this it? This is it here. And it's a nice way of doing edgeware. So you might, for instance, want to have something that looks like it's a piece of machinery, for instance, it's been painted and the paint's been worn off the edges, or
Right.
and it's a nice, easy way of doing it, because you create this, which is basically an atlas, and it's just a plane that's been sliced up into different sizes, and the add-on basically unwraps your object and tries to fit each of the quads. So it doesn't work if there's triangles, it needs to be all quads. And it tries to fit the quads to whichever one of these is the best fit. And once it's done that, you automatically get this edgeway, and it literally takes seconds. This is a, hang on, have I got time to at least show you? We've got 7 minutes, let's have a look. And then maybe next week I'll show you how you can make your own edgeway atlases to use it with. It is only for Blender 4.2, so we've got to wait because my computer struggles to open 4.2 at the moment. There we go. We'll keep this box here. We'll do a little bit of something to it, just to make it a bit more interesting. That'll do. And we'll add a plane, which will stick over there. That's going to be our atlas object. And we'll go into material view, and we'll create a shader. And then somewhere, I think it's in the test, there is the add-on actually comes with an example image, so we'll stick that in there. And then where these lines are, we need to slice up the plane, and thankfully he's done it in a very sensible way. We'll literally just do a loop cut and it's already there because it's dead in the middle, and we'll just do that all the way along. We don't have to line anything up, it's just automatically there, and the other way. Oop, not that one. Undo that. Let's get a bit closer. And there's our atlas. So if you scroll down, I've got it installed here, Dream UV. We can choose the plane as our atlas object. And then this, we need to give it the same material we've just created for it. And you can see that it doesn't work. We've got lines all over the place. But when we hit hotspot, it's all unwrapped. And we've got edgeway. It's not working here very well because we really need to help it out. And we're just going to mark these corners as seams and hit hotspot again. And there, we've got some edgeway along the inside as well. And it's very, very handy. The only thing you've got to remember is if you have a look under UV editing, you can see where it's tried to fit all the squares, all the quads to the nearest fit on here. So we have, if I was to select that face, for instance, and move it, you can see there's another face underneath. It overlaps everything. So if you're going to bake your lighting, you need to create a second UV channel and make sure that that's unwrapped properly so that your lighting works. I usually name my second channel light map so I don't get confused, because I get easily confused. And I would just do probably a basic cubic unwrap because it's all quads anyway. Pack islands, give it a little bit of a margin. I don't know, maybe 0.02. And there it is. There's my light map channel unpacked. And that's ready just to export. I can bake my lighting on it. The shadows will work, but it looks pretty cool. I'll move that out the way here. And we'll add another cube. We'll scale it on the Z and on the X. And we'll add an array modifier. Make some stairs. It starts to look really cool the more complicated your mesh is. So we'll give it the same material. And click on hotspot, and instantly we've got stairs that have got dirty edges. And like I say, if you can imagine, if you make your own materials that looks like paint but instead of these edges here, we've got like rough metallic scratches, you can get some pretty cool effects going on. So that's what I want to cover next week. I'm gonna have a go at making a material. And you know, your atlas doesn't have to be cut up exactly the same way this does. Anything will work, but this is just quick, it's easy, and you've got a lot of variation in sizes and shapes of quads as well. It just makes it work pretty well. So there we go. We'll cover that next week, and I might even,
Cool.
if we've got the time. I don't know how long it'll take to make a texture because I'm not the quickest when it comes to Blender. But yeah, if we've got the time, we'll try and make something very quick. We'll probably carry it over to the following week, make some kind of quick sci-fi scene where we've got a piece of machinery that's all rough and worn and got scratches on the edges and stuff, and then maybe put some cables going into it as well. I just think that would be exciting, you know, if it gives people ideas for what to do. Ooh,
Hanging stairs.
ooh, you know,
Yep.
you know what's got me thinking? Suddenly, I want to make a flux capacitor. Oh,
Yeah, you can
man.
do that with that
I'm
burst
all
thing you did.
excited.
Yes.
But there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely at the flux.
So there we go. We are dead on 8 p.m. There will be there's another event starting now. So I'd like to thank everyone
What time
for
next week?
coming. Same time. Unless, you know, a slot opens up, becomes available that might be a bit later. I can't do earlier though, unfortunately. Like I say, if I do earlier,
Okay.
it does mean I'm going to have to be cancelling one session out of every 3, as I have been recently, just because of my work shifts now. Things have just changed and I don't
An
have
hour
the time
later
that I
or
had.
more would be better.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Well, I'll keep an eye on it. Obviously, I don't really want to
Okay.
book times that are going to be the same time as other people's events if I can help it.
Exactly.
But
And
yeah,
you said you can't do earlier, right? So
no, because I mean, it's this event is 7 p.m. for me, and I don't get on the days that I do work on a weekend, I don't get home till 6:30.
Oh.
So yeah, 6 p.m.'s no good. I wouldn't be here in time. Those are the weeks I'd have to cancel. So 7 really would be the earliest that I could do. But yeah, if anybody has any other suggestions for times or days, Sundays are a bit difficult as well because it's the one day of the week I spend with my family, really. So I go to my parents' house, and I don't want to give that up because, you know, they're not going to be around forever. They're in their 80s. Right, okay, so I'm going to end the recording. Thank you,
Oh, thank you.
everybody, for coming.